All right, start.
We live 1 kilometer away from each other, and we are Skyping.
That's not quite a mile, or it's over a mile. I can't keep track of the U.S. metrics. That's all. I'll let you guys guess what we're talking about. Eh?
Yeah.
Eh? May
Whitesnake.
10th release. Drum roll, please. Eh? What are we talking about, Jim?
We're talking about Whitesnake, Alan.
All right.
All right. So, first of all, if anybody could hear us out there, tell us if the audio is okay because the last time I did this, everything went to shit.
There you go. Watch your language, buddy.
I'm gonna watch my language.
It says I'm offline. We are offline here.
We're offline?
Well,
No, we're running, Alan. We're running good. We're running good. All right,
all right.
today on the show on the YouTube Meta Voice Live with Alan Dixon. Today we're going to talk about the new album by White Snake,
Yes.
Flesh and Blood. So right off the bat, Alan,
What do you
just
want
tell
to
me
say,
your
Jim?
thoughts. Wait, tell me. I can hear you. Hold on a sec. I just want to ask everybody:
Jim.
Is the audio
Yeah.
okay? Boom. Okay. All right, Alan. Tell me right off the bat. White Snake.
well,
You're a big
we're gonna
fan.
add him.
We can obviously see what's going on in the back
Jim.
of your pillows there.
Yeah, Jim. It's been announced for a while. David and his team are doing a fantastic job letting everybody know it's coming, videos, little comments about each song. I mean, they're really one of the more proactive bands, I must say, for a guy that's from another generation than the internet generation. And highly anticipated Flesh and Blood.
Yes. Yes.
And I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, listen to it. Looking forward to it. A huge Whitesnake fan, one of my top 3 bands of all times. And what you want to get into the songs? What do you want? How do you want to do
Well,
this?
let me just start things off, okay?
Okay.
So it's being released, like you said, May 10th via Frontiers Music. This follows the 2011 critically acclaimed Forevermore, right?
I'd
And of
like
course,
to. Yes.
and the 2015 The Purple album.
How do you follow up Forevermore? It's like we were saying in a previous show. Clockwork Angels with Rush. That's the way to go out.
Yeah.
And David just said these songs are too strong to. He thought Forevermore was the end, and these songs are just too strong to release. And I think the timing's perfect for this album.
Yeah.
It's a perfect summertime album. Summertime is here, May 10th. Spring has sprung, and most of the songs are 4 minutes. Perfect for driving down the highway, and it's a guitar-driven album. And can we say that Joel Hoekstra
Yes, of
is
course.
on board? And by maybe shredding and sound and perhaps even looks, a little closest guitarist you've had since John Sykes.
John
Are we allowed to
Sykes.
say that?
I think we're allowed to say that. We can say anything we want, basically.
John Sykes-ish, Mr. Hoekstra.
True.
And, full-on rockers, man. I don't hear too many keyboards. They got a new keyboard player on this. Besides one song, pretty buried down in the mix. This is a guitar album, and I must say, probably the most metal-sounding album of the Whitesnake catalog, and that's including Steve Vai on Slip of the Tongue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got shredding a la masse. You've got quite a few solos that sound slide guitarish. A little hats off to Mickey Moody. I think it's something the fans are going to enjoy, but is it as epic as Forevermore? I do not think so. So, what do you want? You want to go through song by song? You want to just?
Well, I mean,
How do you want to do this?
I think you pretty much. I'm not a big Whitesnake fan. All right.
Oh, I'm leaving.
I'm not a
the
big
show.
Whitesnake
That was
fan.
the shortest show
I
ever.
never said I was. I do like
Come
Whitesnake,
on.
but I'm not the biggest fan, right? And so you're the big Whitesnake fan here, right? And I'm the kind of the casual Whitesnake
Can
fan.
I just add to that?
Sure.
I enjoyed, Slide It In was my first album. And, of course, I bought 1987. I was one of the first, I think, to buy it. And I actually got sick of listening to it because it was on the radio so damn much. I didn't have to put it on my record player
That's the
anymore.
problem. Yeah.
And then, Slip of the Tongue and Coverdale Page and everything, the solo album Into the Light. But I don't know where I was going with this.
I don't know either. But
Oh, I didn't realize how big a fan I was until they came back with the Dokken and the Scorpions. And I mean, I couldn't sit down the whole night. I was screaming my lungs out to every word to every song that they played, and it was just thoroughly enjoyable. So that's when I realized that I think Whitesnake had a bigger influence on myself than I was even more ready to admit.
So for myself, I'm like you. Like, why buy the album when they're playing the whole album on the radio all the time?
Yeah,
right?
but that was one album. I mean, look
We'll
at the
slide it
catalog.
into.
You know?
Yeah.
Love Hunter, baby. And again, we had this conversation with Martin Popoff when we reviewed his book on Whitesnake. I still think Ready and Willing, right there, is probably the best Whitesnake album ever. So it's Whitesnake, but it's how can I say this politely? You had the classic lineup with Marsden and Moody and Ian Pace and John Lord. Then you had just a phenomenal. John Sykes barely played on the Slide It In album. You know, he was kind of there late in the game. And then you had the phenomenal 1987 that just exploded worldwide. They finally hit America. Finally did. John Kalodner worked his magic. And, you know, this. And then you had the Doug Aldrich years. And, well, good. Like, there's a progression. There's the Whitesnake that should have followed up 1987, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Reb Beach has been there a while. Hats off to him. Great guy. Great guitarist. But you know, this is we're getting into you know, a lot of new members, a lot of new places, and I don't want to say it's third tier Whitesnake. We can say Whitesnake Mach 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
The Machs.
But forevermore for me, and we spoke with Doug Aldrich. We interviewed the Dead Daisies, and I said to him, I said, "That's your album, man.
That's true.
That felt like you're finally you and Coverdale that synchronization that he had with Sykes, that David's willing to open that door again, from what I've read.
Well, I don't know about that.
Sykes, David, because they know what they did together. That album right over there, that's the magic.
Yeah.
So again, that album, and Doug looked at me and said, I put a lot of effort into that album, and so now we're new guitars, okay, and I'm not saying anything bad about Joel Hoekstra or his writing abilities. But I want to be polite because I love this album. It's a good album, but you know, you don't want to become a parody of yourself.
Well,
is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so for me, this album, I was kind of shocked. It was so very memorable melodies, we'll want to say, perhaps. Every song stood out as its own. Some a little cornballish, a little bit more of the, you know, the daring Whitesnake kind of sound, right? Let me point out a couple ones here. Hold on.
Well, if I could just add to that, Jim, there's not as much variation as you might see, you know, like from Reading and Willing. You know, they had Carry Your Load, they had a really bluesy, they had a barroom boogie, they had Blind Man, they had Ain't Gonna Cry No More Today. There's lots of variations with your full-on rockers like Fool for Your Loving, right?
Yeah.
This one is all relentless rockers, you know, straightforward.
And this is the dangerous element.
This is the album.
The dangerous element.
This is the album you want to put on when you're driving down the road, open highway, doing 100 miles an hour. This is the album you want to have on.
Trouble is Your Middle Name. That's to me, that's a typical Whitesnake song.
Trouble is Your Middle Name. That's probably the catchiest. That's probably if there was such a thing as lead single, I think that would probably be it. For me, Jim, you know, when I heard that album, you got the sirens in the background, you got that kind of a ZZ Top riff, and it felt like it was in New Orleans or something with that riff. You're just close to the bayou or something, and you know, this long-legged woman appears in front of you in the streets on Bourbon Street
on top of
New
the car.
Orleans, and she just looks at you. She says, "Come hither," you know, and you just know this is not going to end well. This is Trouble is Your Middle Name. Exactly like that. It kind of put me right into that, the ZZ Top riff happening, and the solo is a shred fest. Like Steve Vai, Move Over, and this is I don't know. I'll assume it's Joel Hoekstra, but I mean this is a complete shred fest here.
Alan, now Get Up. After All, the acoustic Led Zeppelin-ish folk song.
That
has to be the best song they've written in a decade.
It's a good song. It's a good song.
To me, it's probably the best thing Coverdale's ever sung in so long. It's
Again, if we want to talk about vocals, well, I have no problem with David. Age affects everybody, but his nuance, his feeling is in the lower registers. And I do
yeah, yeah.
struggle a bit when he tries to hit the always on the high register. And the first opening songs are always in the high register. Not that he does a bad job. It just I prefer the full body David Coverdale soulful voice that he has. And after all, it's a great song. I mean, the
It's
acoustic.
like Going to California by Led Zeppelin. It's got
Well,
that vibe, right?
yeah, I think it's something that could have easily fit onto his solo album, the official David Coverdale solo album, Into the Light. It's kind of a more upbeat version of Love Is Blind off of that album. So, or anybody that is familiar with that song from the Unzipped box set,
But to
which
me,
we'll talk.
that was a huge treat, though, because it's kind of, I love Going to California by Led Zeppelin. It's got that acoustic feel, that's sort of like the wind blowing in the air, and you're outside on, some sort of mountain with an acoustic guitar, and you're just playing and singing. I don't know. I think it's probably one of the best things they've ever written.
The acoustic playing on it is phenomenal. I mean, it's really great. Again, it's more of that Coverdale solo stuff. But it's a great song. I agree. I agree. It's a nice change up from the rest. There's very few. We don't have any. We have one. You want to talk about that one? The one possible.
Well, how about Shut Up and Kiss Me? Like, what'd you think
Oh, you
about
want to
that
go?
one?
What do you want to do? Well, that's another one. It could have been a lead-off single. A straightforward rocker, classic Whitesnake lyrics, and guitars. Again, the higher register that he does a good job, but it's not his strength. No longer, I don't think. And it's great. I mean, the lyrics are typical Whitesnake. So there was the semi ballad, if we can say
Yeah, there's
that.
some semi ballads there
There
too.
was what's it? I'm trying to find it here. It's the one that's kind of like a
It's When I Think of
deeper
You.
kind of love. When I think of you, yeah, it's
When I
kind
Think
of
of
a
You.
deeper kind of love feel to it.
Another great Whitesnake-ish song is "Good to See You Again." That again is your car driving, like you said, the gritty vocals at his lower register, but he's just that's where his voice really is incredible. I guess that is the area. That's the
Yeah, there's a lot of it's kind of. I don't know if they actually use a slide guitar. They're able to play a slide guitar sounding on their guitars, but there's one that has that slide guitar feel to
Gonna
it.
Be All Right. Gonna Be All Right.
Gonna be all right. Which
That's the
that?
song that has a slide guitar. It's the second one. Gonna
Yeah,
Be All Right. A
there's
slide guitar,
also
very
yeah, yeah,
catchy.
same thing. But if we go to the thing is, there's one song. There's a couple songs actually. Always and Forever, which has a Thin Lizzy feel to it. It's pure pop. It's pure pop is what it is.
Yeah.
And then when I think of you, which is the ballad that's kind of like deeper the love. David should open up his own sex phone line, okay? Because he's whispering, he's moaning, and you can it's I don't know who did the production, but you can hear him breathe in and out before he sings every line. So there's like this heavy breathing happening, which he's trying to do his squeals and his little things that he does. But it's like, guys, like we don't need that in the mix unless you want to be a hotline. Put him on a hotline. David Coverdale. Call David Coverdale. You know.
What about okay? So my favorite solo, it had to be Heart of Stone. Even though I didn't like the song so much, it just there's like a wah wah. The solo's like
But
ripping.
again, that's my favorite vocal of David's on the album.
Really?
It's his lower register that he's so comfortable in, and he sounds so good in that register. Heart of Stone's a good album. It's a good song. I really like that song.
Okay. And I guess we talked about that's pretty much it. I think we kind of went
Well,
through most of it.
sound. If I can just add the Sands of Time. I mean, they've been famous for closing the albums with epic songs, going back to Sailing Ships, and also Forevermore, of course. This one is the To Tame a Land of the Iron Maiden. To make the Iron Maiden analogy, it just doesn't quite hit the mark. Like Steve was trying to come up with another Hallowed Be Thy Name or Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. To Tame a Land kind of fell below expectations, and I think this one tries really hard to hit that closing big epic, but I don't think it quite succeeds. And again, Jim, as you can see, I'm not a critic, man. I'm just a fan,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just saying my point of view as to all the other Whitesnake fans out there, how I found this album. And again, there's well I never. That's probably the closest to the old Whitesnake, the blues influenced Whitesnake, but on steroids. Okay, because the guitar players that are on this album are really primed and ready. Like these guys want to rock out and shred. So
What about the production? We talked about the production offline, right?
well, yeah. Well, the thing is, when I was first listening to this, I was at work, had it playing in the background, and I had the two little speakers on, and it just sounded like a bunch of angry bees, all the shredding. I said, "What's the what?" And Whitesnake is like Van Halen, man. You're supposed to enjoy it and have a good time listening to it. And I found myself getting irritated.
Really?
So I said, and I spoke to you about that. You
Yeah.
said you love the album. I said, I don't understand why it's getting me angry when I
Bumblebees.
listen to it. So I put on the headphones, sat back in a nice, tranquil area, and just listened to it. And yeah, it was really the speakers I was listening
Yeah.
and that created that
Because
impression.
I was second guessing myself. I go, maybe the sound production is very thin, but it sounded pretty good. Of
But
course, it'll
again,
never it'll never be like Slide It In, right? It'll never be like
I
1987.
but even like just listening on the laptop, the speakers aren't the speakers to be listening to this on. So I've been listening on tinny, I had external speakers, but little tinny computer speakers, and it didn't work for me. And then when I listened to it with the headphones on and some quality, a better system, yeah, the production is really good. There's that one I was talking about. There is the one that well I never. I think there's some Tommy Aldrich's
Oh, and we should mention
drums.
that Tommy Aldridge
They're,
is a
they're,
drummer, right?
his drums are right out in your face. The
Yeah.
only thing is there's one song that's kind of it was probably that one. Well, I never. Flesh and Blood. That's a song that could have been on Slip of the Tongue,
And I
quite
think
frankly.
that's the head voice, like that sort of like falsetto head voice that he uses. I kind of struggled a little bit with on that song.
Yeah, that's it. When he goes to the higher register, it has a. I mean, Restless Heart. That was really hard to listen to at the time, and that was what 20 years ago. So David's doing a good job. I
Yeah,
do
he
not want to
is.
knock his vocals.
No, no, no.
We can say there's a new nuance in his voice that he deals with quite well.
Yeah.
Like anybody, man. But his lower register is unbelievable. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of a richness to that voice of his. It's like a friendly lion singing to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Yeah, 1-800 David Coverdale. Okay.
Yeah.
So overall, what would you rate it? I mean, okay, you're the big Whitesnake fan, and since you love Whitesnake so much, I mean, how does it in the catalog itself? Where does it fit? Where does it fit?
It's hard because this is a completely new era as far as I'm concerned. This is if they do a second one, we can judge it compared to some other eras. The only thing that might come close is this '87 album, which was John Sykes really his album that he contributed, like Joel Hoekstra's contributed here. I mean, Red Beach has been in the band for a while now. There's consistency with Tommy Aldridge, and even the bass player played on I believe Forevermore and the Purple album.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's hard to judge at this point, but for me, it's just a fun album. You cannot sit still listening to this album. You got to boogie, man. You got to move. You got to move your feet. You got to push that pedal down another 10 miles an hour when you're going down the highway. It's that type of album. So, but it's hard to compare to look at all this stuff behind me. I mean, it's too early in the game. Again, Coverdale's own words were that he was thought Forevermore was the top, which would have been a fantastic album to go out on. But the songs were too strong to not do another one. Plus, they're touring.
Yeah,
They're touring. Let's mention they're
yeah, they're going to go on tour. Go ahead.
well, no, they're touring right now.
Oh
They're
yeah, yeah.
touring U.S. right now until May 18th, I believe. Then they go over to Europe and all throughout June and into July, ending in Russia. They're touring Europe and Russia. So again, a great reason, and they're going to be playing the song, of course, songs off the new album, and these songs are going to be fantastic live.
You know what it was? It was Get Up. It was the song Get Up that has like a swing beat. That's the song Get Up. That kind of builds up and
Yeah,
it's got like
it's
a
a
little
pure
bit of a swing happening.
Get Up is a just pure fun. It's pure fun. It like spit it out, and kitten's got claws. You don't take it seriously. It's got that driving beat, like I said. That's the perfect song to summarize. I'm glad you brought it up, Jim. That you can't sit still. Listen, that's something you got to move, and the drums just seem to pop. The bass is a little bit more prevalent. I think the bass could have been up a little bit more in the mix. The keyboards, besides one song that's got a kind of a Black Sabbath meets. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Flesh and Blood. I think it was Flesh and Blood. It's as if instead of Ian Gillan joining the band in Born Again, if David Coverdale would have joined Black Sabbath, this is probably the song that
There you
came
go.
up, was Flesh and Blood.
It's true.
So
So overall, for me, it's too early. I would say, 7.5, 8 out of 10, somewhere around there. I mean, you can't go wrong with this album. You just can't go wrong with it. Will it be a classic, a contender within the Slide It In the 1987 self-titled album? I don't know. I don't think so. But it's a damn good album.
yeah, I agree, Jim. And then we have, I just want to say, Mike, Doug was flawless on Forevermore. I couldn't agree more with you. I had the privilege of meeting Doug Aldrich, a gentleman.
Yes.
And that's what I told him. That was the album that felt like it was your album. That's something that that you had a say in what was going on. How much say he had in Dio is one thing. How much say he had on the comeback album, Good to Be Bad. That album, for me, it felt like that was Doug Aldrich, and he did. That's what he said. He put a lot of time. I don't know. I didn't get into specifics. He didn't seem to want to talk about the specifics of why he's no longer the Whitesnake. Again, hats off to Mr. Coverdale.
Yeah.
That goes out and finds all these fantastic
He
guitars.
does.
And he's got yet another one on board with Mr. Hoekstra. And we just hope that this album suits and enjoys the masses. They will.
John Sykes. I met him. I met him very briefly. I met him in January. And strange enough, he's very intimidating. He's a really big guy. It's not like I'm the tallest guy, but he's really big, and all the girls are around him. And the guy's like 60, and he's just very intimidating.
I mean, Jim, he's one of the couple of guitarists that I can actually just hear a song and hear a tone, and I know it's John Sykes. I mean, just from his playing. I mean, there was Hughes, Joe Lynn Turner, and Mr. Glenn Hughes album, Project Number 2. Yeah. And I was listening to it, and then the song came out of nowhere, and I said, "Well, that's John Sykes."
This guy's what a vocal talent and a guitar talent and a songwriting talent.
And I'm going to assume Mr. Hoekstra plays that tone on this album because Red Beach had another album to do it on, and I didn't quite hear that as much as this. So I'm just going to assume that's Mr. Joel Hoekstra. Well. And again, a thoroughly enjoyable album. But Jim, before can I talk about this?
Go ahead.
Whitesnake.
It looks like a cereal box.
It's a box set.
Yep.
Box set. So again, I had the original Starkers from Tokyo, which they redid on this. This is unzipped in the studio, the love songs. So some acoustic adventures, 1 to all the way up to 6. 5 CDs and 1 DVD video. So again, it's been out for a while. I know that they've been doing a lot of reissues with the 1987 Slide It In albums, 30th anniversaries. I'd like to know anybody out there can tell me, how the box sets, how they found it. This one, it's well done, but a lot of the booklet, I was expecting more out of it. It's a lot of repetitive stuff that we've seen. There's a poster that's of this cover here, which is kind of unnecessary. But again, you got great acoustic performances that were never released, playing with Adrian Vandenberg and Doug Aldrich, and in the various situations. And they polished off a few old songs, like one of my favorite off of this album here, Ain't Gonna Cry No More, including Blind Man as well, off of David's first solo album, and off of Mr. Ready and Willing here. So let me know what anybody else thought about the box package of the 30th editions of Slide It In and 1987. I'd be interested to see if that is something I'd like to get.
Cool stuff, Alan. Very cool stuff. So the album's once again, being released May the
May
10th on
10th,
Frontiers. And
coming up.
yep, and it's coming up. It's going to be in about 10 days, I guess, or 11. And yeah, so would you rate it out of 10? What would you rate it out of 10? Be daring, Alan. What would you rate it out of 10?
No, it's a solid 8, man.
Solid 8. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Me too. I agree with you. Solid 8. You can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong.
And again, Tommy Aldridge. You have the consistency there. The great. He's one of my favorite drummers. Sounds great on the album. It's just the keyboards could have been a little bit more prevalent. But it's a guitar-oriented album. Just get that in your head right at the beginning. It's nothing but guitars and driving guitars on this album.
All right, man. That's pretty much it. So
Okay.
that's it. So everybody, thank you very much for tuning in to this live version. We thought we'd do it quickly just to get it out there because we know the album's going to be released pretty soon, and we're a little bit
And
back
there's
up.
lots of Whitesnake fans out there that are waiting, anticipating this album,
Yep.
and you won't be disappointed.
All right. Take a look at Alan's record collection back there. There's all his Whitesnake albums. Look at that. Ta-da. Very cool. All right, Alan. We'll talk soon.
All right, guys.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.